gracious good day to one and all once again. 'Tis I, Norton the First, by grace of God, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico. Back with you once again for episode number 134 of Emperor Norton's fantastic history vlog. Today is Tuesday, September 8, 2020. It is our 173rd day under COVID-19 restrictions. We'd like to thank your consideration this Friday because we did have to take the day off for some imperial business that had to be attended to. And it looks like we're starting to pick up some more tour work. So this vlog in the future might become an occasional thing. We shall see. There's nothing set in stone yet, but things are starting to open up again, thank goodness. We had a wonderful day yesterday on the Matthew Turner, a boat out of Sausalito for the Antenna Theater, and it was just delightful. Beautiful day yesterday. Now, it's been rather hot the last few days, everywhere, but here in San Francisco as well, got into the triple digits at one point, and today was supposed to be a hot day as well, the last day of the heat wave, but right now it's about 57, cloudy, foggy, and windy here. Blessed relief, yes indeed. Also, don't forget that September 17 is the anniversary of us declaring ourselves Emperor of the United States. And the Emperor Norton Legacy League is having a special event that evening, and you're all invited. It's free. Just go to the Emperor Norton Legacy League on the Facebook, and you can sign up. You'll be sent a Zoom link closer to the actual event, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a round of Ask the Emperor. You can answer the question, what do we mean to you? And the recipe for the Emperor Norton Sundae is also on the invitation to the event. Today was a first anniversary of our great victory over Ghirardelli because we found one of the Ghirardelli ice cream parlors at Ghirardelli Square who agreed to make us our sundae. So that was very nice. That was a year ago, and it was a wonderful event. For those of you that don't know, Ghirardelli got rid of the Emperor Norton Sundae a number of years ago, and we're trying to get them to bring it back. It's a goblet glass lined with sliced bananas and cherries, 2 big scoops of vanilla ice cream, hot fudge, whipped cream, and a sprinkling of nuts on top. Go make yourself one and then write a letter to Ghirardelli and demand they bring it back. Now, this being Ketchup Day, we have a lot to cover. So we'll be speaking rather fast to get through it all. And there is going to be a minimum of graphics today because that is the most time-consuming part of editing this vlog. So we will have some, but not as many as you're used to seeing on a regular daily vlog. Well, let's jump into it, shall we? With our national days. So we'll be covering the 4th through the 8th because those are the days we missed. September 4, Macadamia Nut Day. Love macadamias. And Eat an Extra Dessert Day. That should be every day, shouldn't it? Yes. The 5th, National Cheese Pizza Day. Well, we like a little more than just cheese on our pizza. Don't know about you. World Beard Day. Isn't it magnificent? And International Vulture Awareness Day. We are aware of vultures. Yes, we are. And there's a festival, I believe it's in Makanda, Illinois every year. I'll double check that. Dedicated to vultures. So check that out sometime. It's rather interesting. Where were we? The 6th, Fight Procrastination Day. I think I'll do that tomorrow. And Read a Book Day. Yes, read lots of books. The 7th, Labor Day, of course. National Buy a Book Day. Wait, shouldn't that have come before Read a Book Day? And Salami Day. One of our favorite delis in New York, Cat's Deli. Their motto, send a salami to your boy in the army. It goes back to World War II. The 8th, that's today, National Ampersand Day and Actors Day. To be or not to be? That is the question. Florida Man. We got 3 today. Couldn't choose. Starting with September 4, Florida Man parks smart car in kitchen so it won't blow away. The 5th, Florida Man caught with nearly 200 illegal lobsters. What's an illegal lobster? Well, anyway. The 6th, Florida Man throws urine on prosecutor during sentencing hearing. I bet that didn't go very well for him. Our San Francisco story today, we chose 2 because they're both very significant. And our first one comes from John Ralston's wonderful tome, This Date in San Francisco. Because it was on September 5th, 1921, that a party at the Hotel St. Francis begins Fatty Arbuckle's ruin. Roscoe Conkling Arbuckle was born in Kansas in 1887. When he was 2, his family moved to Southern California, where his father, William, had Roscoe's mother and siblings run a cheap hotel, while William went north to Watsonville in Santa Cruz County in search of greener pastures. Arbuckle got tentatively into movies in 1908. He joined Mack Sennett's company in 1913 and was partnered with Mabel Normand, a partner of Charlie Chaplin. And among other films, Arbuckle and Normand appeared in Fatty and Mabel Viewing the World's Fair in San Francisco. Seen footage from that, it's great. By 1920, Arbuckle was one of the movie's most popular stars. He acted, directed, and formed his own company and helped launch the careers of other stars, such as Buster Keaton. On Saturday, September 3rd, 1921, Arbuckle drove from Los Angeles to San Francisco, arriving at the Hotel St. Francis, where a 12th floor, 3-room suite was reserved for Labor Day. It was Prohibition, but on Sunday the 4th, a nightclub delivered whiskey and gin through the Powell Street front entrance to Arbuckle's suite. Just before 12 noon on Labor Day, Monday the 5th, a screen actress named Virginia Rapp, along with her manager Al Semenacher, and a woman named Maud Delmont came to Arbuckle's suite, invited by one of the Fishbacks. By early afternoon, several others, possibly including prominent San Franciscans and the Hotel St. Francis famous chef Victor Hertzler, had arrived. Gin with orange juice was being drunk copiously, and a Victrola was playing popular songs. Virginia Rapp eventually became ill. She complained of stomach pains and became hysterical, tearing her clothes off and screaming that she was dying. She was put in a cold tub, and when that didn't work, the hotel doctor was called and injected morphine, which put her to sleep and had no effect whatsoever from what she suffered from. Arbuckle returned to Los Angeles on Tuesday the 6th, Rapp's condition worsening. She was taken to the Wakefield Sanatorium, a maternity hospital on Sutter Street. On Thursday, she was seen by Dr. Emmett Rixford, Stanford Medical Center, who confirmed a diagnosis by Dr. Melville Rumwell that Rapp was suffering from peritonitis. On Saturday the 10th, Hearst's San Francisco Examiner ran a lurid front-page story under the headline, SF Booze Party Kills Young Actress. Arbuckle's picture was superimposed on Rapp's, implying that he was involved in her death. The paper would print several more pictures of Rapp and Arbuckle, including one showing Arbuckle in the center of a spider's web surrounded by other females he had supposedly enticed into his parlor. After being accosted by Los Angeles reporters, Arbuckle drove to San Francisco. On Saturday the 12th, Arbuckle was charged with murder and lodged in a cell without bail. Arbuckle was released on bail after 18 days. Jury selection in his first trial began on November 14, 1921. And that trial ended 10-2 in acquittal. It was a mistrial. The second trial began on January 11, 1922, and also ended with a jury deadlocked 10-2 for conviction. The third trial began on March 12, 1922, and on April 12th, the jury retired and less than 5 minutes later returned with a verdict of not guilty. "We were unanimous from the moment we entered the jury room," said jury foreman Edward Brown. "We felt there was absolutely no case against Arbuckle." The jurors took the unusual step of signing a joint statement apologizing to Arbuckle, but his career was ruined and he would never seriously work in the film business again. directed some industrial films, I believe under the pen name Will Be Good. And he would die a number of years later, penniless, forgotten. One of the great comics of the silent era. Now, in that exact same room, in 1950, Al Jolson, the star of the jazz singer, was returning from entertaining the troops in Korea, playing cards with his buddies, stood up, clutched his chest, said, "Boys, I'm going," and dropped dead right there. People seek out that room on the 12th floor, but the Hotel St. Francis isn't too anxious to give out the information as to what that room actually was. Excuse me, got a little wheeze this morning from all the smoke. Still smoky around here. And our second story today comes from the third Cliff House, catching on fire and burning on September 7, 1907. In 1896, Adolf Sutro, who owned the Cliff House and all the surrounding properties, rebuilt the Cliff House from the ground as a 7-story Victorian chateau called by some the Gingerbread Palace below his estate on the bluffs of Sutro Heights. This was the same year work began on the famous Sutro Baths in the small cove immediately north of the restaurant. The baths included 6 of the largest outdoor pools, a museum, a skating rink, and other pleasure grounds. Great throngs of San Franciscans arrived on steam trains, bicycles, and carts, and horse wagons on Sunday excursions. Sutro purchased some of the collection of stuffed animals, artwork, and historic items from Woodward's Gardens, a story we will tell someday, to display at both the Cliff House and the Sutro Baths. The 1896 Cliff House survived the 1906 earthquake with little damage, but was burned to the ground on the evening of September 7, 1907. This is just 5 months after the great earthquake. You can imagine how devastating that must have been to the people of San Francisco. After the fire, Dr. Emma Merritt, Sutro's daughter, commissioned Reed and Reed to rebuild the restaurant in a neoclassical style. It was completed within 2 years and is the basis for the structure seen there today. In 1914, the guidebook Bohemian San Francisco described it as one of the great bohemian restaurants of San Francisco. While you have thought you had a good breakfast before this, you know that you are now having the best of them all. Amazingly, there are very few photographs of the interior of the very fancy Victorian Cliff House, which we find just amazing. But we'll put a couple of pictures of it up, one before and one during the fire. Well, let's move on to our other history, covering all the way back to Friday, the 4th. 1609, navigator Henry Hudson, first European to discover the island of Manhattan. It may have happened on the 4th, may have happened on the 11th, we're not sure. 1781, Los Angeles is founded by 44 Spanish-speaking mestizos, in the Bahia de las Fumas, Bay of Smokes. Happy birthday, LA. 1862, the North Beach and Mission Railway Company is organized in San Francisco. 1882, in its first large-scale test, Thomas Edison's light bulb is used to light New York's Pearl Street Station. 1885, the first cafeteria opens in New York City. 1886, Apache chief Geronimo surrenders, ending the last major U.S. Indian War. 1950, Beetle Bailey comic strip debuts in 12 newspapers, so happy 70th birthday to Beetle Bailey. 1998, Google is formally incorporated by Larry Page and Sergey Brin, 2 students at Stanford University. 2018, the FBI announces that they have recovered Dorothy's ruby red slippers from The Wizard of Oz, which had been stolen 13 years previous. Moving on to the 5th, 1666, the Great Fire of London ends, leaving 13,200 houses destroyed and 8 dead. 1698, Russian Tsar Peter the Great imposes a tax on beards. Oh dear. Maybe that's why it's National Beard Day? We'd be in trouble. 1774, the First Continental Congress, a meeting of delegates from 12 of the 13 British colonies that later became the United States, convenes at Carpenter's Hall in Philadelphia. 12 of the 13 American colonies adopt a trade embargo against Great Britain, and the First Continental Congress at Carpenter's Hall at the First Continental Congress at Carpenter's Hall. 1836, Sam Houston elected president of the Republic of Texas. It was a separate republic at one time, as was California. Not for long, though. 1882, 10,000 workers march in the first Labor Day parade in New York City. 1905, the Treaty of Portsmouth is signed, concluding the Russo-Japanese War. U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt will receive the Nobel Peace Prize for his role as mediator. 1939, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, declares U.S. neutrality at the start of World War II in Europe. Of course, that would last about 2 years. The neutrality, not the war. 1946, Amon Goeth, former head of Krakow-Plaszow concentration camp, found guilty of imprisonment, torture, and extermination of individuals and groups of people, the first conviction of homicide at a war crimes court. 1957, On the Road by Jack Kerouac is published. 1958, Dr. Zhivago, novel by Boris Pasternak, is published in the U.S. 1958, The Huckleberry Hound Show by Hanna-Barbera featuring Yogi Bear, Hey Boo Boo, premieres on U.S. TV. We'll save us ringside seats so everyone can meet. 1975, the first assassination attempt on U.S. President Gerald Ford by Lynette Fromm in Sacramento. The San Francisco attempt by, oh dear, her name just went out of my head. I should have written it down. That happened on the 22nd. Oh boy, I'll put it up there. I'm sorry, we just forgot. It's going to pop in our head in any second now. Sarah Jane Moore. Knew it'd get there eventually. Oh well. Moving on to the 6th. 1620, the Mayflower departs Plymouth, England with 102 pilgrims and about 30 crew for the New World. 1628, Puritans from Massachusetts Bay Colony land in Salem. 1866, Frederick Douglass is the first black delegate to a national convention. 1869, the first westbound train arrives in San Francisco on the Transcontinental Railroad, although it actually arrived in Oakland. 1873, regular cable car service begins on Clay Street, San Francisco. August 1st was the first time that the line was tested, but it did not go into service until the 6th of September. 1876, Southern Pacific Line from Los Angeles to San Francisco is completed. 1899, Carnation processes its first can of evaporated milk. 1901, U.S. President William McKinley is shot by Leon Solgos, an anarchist, while visiting the Panama American Exposition in New York. 1916, the first true supermarket, the Piggly Wiggly, is opened by Clarence Saunders in Memphis, Tennessee. 1997, the funeral of Diana, Princess of Wales, is held at Westminster Abbey in London. Moving on to the 7th, 1630, the city of Boston, Massachusetts is formed. 1813, Uncle Sam is first used to refer to the U.S. by Troy Post of New York. 1936, Boulder Dam, now Hoover Dam, begins operation. 1940, the beginning of the Blitz. The German Luftwaffe bombed London for the first of 57 consecutive nights as the Nazis prepared to invade Britain, which never happened. 1504. Wait, I think we skipped. Sorry, I think this is the 8th on that. Yep, forgot to put the date in. Sorry about that. 1504. Michelangelo's statue of David is unveiled in Florence. Where were we? Okay, 1565, first permanent European settlement in the U.S. is founded at St. Augustine, Florida. 1858, Abraham Lincoln supposedly says in a speech, "You can fool all the people some of the time, you can fool some of the people all the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time." I wouldn't bet on that. 1892, the first appearance of the Pledge of Allegiance. 1914, the HMS Oceanic, sister ship of the RMS Titanic, sinks off Scotland. 1920, U.S. airmail service begins New York City to San Francisco. 1930, first appearance of the comic strip Blondie. So Blondie and Dagwood are 90 years old today. 1934, the luxury passenger ship Morro Castle, bound for New Jersey, catches fire. 133 die. 1952, Ernest Hemingway's novel The Old Man and the Sea is published. 1971, the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts opens in Washington, D.C. 1966, got out of order here, Star Trek premieres on NBC TV. Also 1966, That Girl, starring Marlo Thomas, premieres on ABC TV. By the way, she and Donald never married. The last season was about their engagement, but then it just ended. And we were so curious about this because we were watching the reruns on Nick at Night, and it just ended with no wedding whatsoever, that we wrote to Marlo Thomas and asked her if it was true they never married, and she confirmed that. She was so nice to answer. We still can't believe it to this day. 1974, Gerald Ford pardons former President Richard Nixon of all federal crimes. Also 1974, Evel Knievel attempts to jump the Snake River Canyon in Idaho, but fails, escaping with minor injuries. 1986, The Oprah Winfrey Show is first broadcast nationally. 2019, Brazil Supreme Court rules Marvel comic depicting two men kissing can be sold after the mayor of Rio de Janeiro attempted to ban it. Births, starting on the 4th. 1846, Daniel Burnham, U.S. architect, really the father of the skyscraper. 1918, Paul Harvey, American news commentator and radio broadcaster, and that's the rest of the story. No, we have more. 1920, Craig Claiborne, American food columnist, writer of the New York Times cookbook, great food writer. Moving on to the 5th, 1847, Jesse James, the American outlaw and son of a clergyman, is killed. 1902, that was his birth, not his death. 1902, film producer Darryl F. Zanuck. 1921, Jack Valenti, former president of the Motion Picture Association of America. 1929, Bob Newhart, the comedian, the Bob Newhart Show. Newhart turned 91. Happy birthday, Bob. And does anybody know the drinking game? Hi, Bob, from the original Bob Newhart Show, because they said that a lot. Anytime you walked into a room, anytime anybody walked into a room, you were supposed to say, hi, Bob. And you were supposed to, if you're in the drinking game, you take a drink anytime he said that. Well, we totaled it up one episode. It was about 60 times. Woo! 1940, Raquel Welch, her birthday. 1942, German director Werner Herzog. 1946, the great singer, musician Freddie Mercury of the band Queen. And 1969, Frank Zappa's son, Dweezil Zappa, who inherited a lot of his musical talent. Moving on to the 6th, 1888, Joseph P. Kennedy, American diplomat, father of JFK, RFK, and Teddy. 1937, Joanne Worley from Laugh-In. 1937 as well, Sergio Aragonés, Spanish-born illustrator for Mad Magazine. Always do the little things in the sides of the columns and all that at the edge of the page. I think he also drew Albert E. Newman at one point, but I guess who didn't at Mad Magazine? 1962, Chris Christie, governor of New Jersey, I believe former at this point. Moving on to the 7th, Elizabeth I, Queen Elizabeth I. Hats off to monarchs, the Virgin Queen. Now, 1860, Grandma Moses, a great primitive painter. Real name was Anna Maria. 1909, Elia Kazan, director of, among the movies, Streetcar Named Desire. 1912, David Packard, American electronic engineer and businessman, Hewlett-Packard. 1942, Garrison Keillor, the creator of Prairie Home Companion. 1950, Chrissie Hynde of The Pretenders. 1951, Julie Kavner, actress. She was Brenda on the series Rhoda, also on the Tracy Ullman Show, but for about the last 27, I believe it is, years, she's been the voice of Marge Simpson, as well as Selma and Patty. I know, not very good, I'm sorry. 1956, Michael Feinstein, pianist, curator of the Gershwin estate, great singer as well. Oh, I sat at the foot of his piano once and heard him sing If I Only Have a Brain for The Wizard of Oz. That was quite a night. I was there as a press photographer. Moving on to the 8th, 1922, Lyndon LaRouche, American presidential candidate, horrible person. Look him up. 1922, great comedian Sid Caesar, Your Show of Shows. 1925, speaking of great comic actors, Peter Sellers. Oh, how could you go wrong with a Peter Sellers movie? If you're looking for an obscure one, watch his movie, The Party. It's a delightful movie, and Gavin MacLeod from The Mary Tyler Moore Show and The Love Boat is his co-star in it, and does a wonderful slow burn throughout. Pretty obscure movie, and not a lot of people have seen it, but it's well worth it. Moving on to 1932, the great country singer, Patsy Cline. Moving on, let's see, we've got 1941, Bernie Sanders, American politician and senator. And 1946, Pigpen of the Grateful Dead. Our deaths today. Starting on the 4th, 1995, William Kunstler, the LA attorney, he defended the Chicago 7. Moving on to the 5th, 1877, Crazy Horse, whose real name was, oh, pardon me if I butcher this, Tashunka Witko, the last great Sioux war chief. 1997, Mother Teresa. 1926, speaking of people I don't care for very much, Phyllis Schlafly, American right-wing crusader, Eagle Forum president, noted bigot and homophobe. Don't get me started. 1966, Margaret Sanger was a birth control pioneer. 1990, Isan Dorsey, American founder of the Hartford Street Zen Center in San Francisco, dies of AIDS at the age of 57. 2007, Alex, the African gray parrot. As you know, the Countess and I do have an African gray named Moses. We gave her that name when we thought she was a boy. She's a girl. Oh well, the name's staying. Moving on to the 7th, 1969, Everett Dirksen, the U.S. Senator. Moving on to the 8th, 1935, Huey Long, the Kingfish, 40th Governor of Louisiana. He's assassinated at Baton Rouge Capitol Building at the age of 42. 1974, Robert Cox, last surviving member of the Keystone Cops. Friday Arbuckle was a Keystone Cop. He dies at the age of 79. 2016, we lost a Lady Chablis, American transgender entertainer, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Our quote today comes from Fatty Arbuckle. I don't believe there's any finer mission on earth than to just make people laugh. We would agree with that. Well, that wraps up for this edition. A couple of reminders. Here's where you can leave a tip for the Countess and I. If you want to do a monthly subscription in any amount, use the Patreon link. But if you want to do a one-time donation, you can send it to our PayPal link, and we greatly appreciate donations. They're what are keeping us going with unemployment benefits running out. Hopefully they get reinstated soon. We sincerely hope. It looks like it's going to be. Also, if you'd like more information on what the Countess and I normally do for our tours, and we are starting up again. We at least are available for charters, parties, weddings, funerals, bar mitzvahs, whatever. Yes, we are ordained, so we can do weddings. So is the Countess. So that's where you get information on that. There's also a lot of history on the individual websites that link to sftimemachine.com. A lot of great historical resources there. Don't forget about September 17, 7 p.m. Join the Emperor Norton Legacy League for the beginning of the 162nd year of the Nortonian reign. Until we see you again, stay safe, stay inside. Therefore, stay healthy. If you do go outside, please wear a mask. You know, we would be back to the road to recovery for our economy and our society if people had started wearing masks back in March. And we're still seeing many, many, many deaths. We're approaching 200,000, and some estimates say we'll hit over 400,000 by the end of the year. so needless, so tragic. Do not take unproven cures. Don't rush the vaccine. Don't get us started on that one. And please, 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 be kind to one another. Very important. Until we see you again, oh my God, we went 30 minutes. Ooh, long one today, we told you. A gracious good day.